Okay, so let's have a look at question 2 from this EDCO sample paper A. So this is a question initially about income tax. So we're told that Luke has a gross annual income of 65,400. 6.5% of this is going to be deducted in pension contributions, and the amount that's left is Luke's taxable income. So overall he earns 65,400. But all of this he won't have to pay tax on. It says that we're going to subtract 6.5% of this, and that's for his pension, and that won't be taxed. It says that what's left will be his taxable income. So we're going to have to find 6.5% of 65,400. So I'm going to multiply by 0.065. It would be okay to also multiply by 6.5 and use the percentage button, or you could even multiply by 6.5 over 100. But I always try and put in the decimal, even though the percentage button is probably the second best way to do it. So let's take out the calculator and find 6.5% of 65,400. So 65,400 times 0.065, and that's equal to, that's okay, 4,251. Sorry, 4,251. Just to show you that the percentage button would have been okay as well, let's backspace there, and we'll just do 65,400 times 6.5, and then the percentage button is down on the answer, so shift percentage equals, and we get 4251. So that's the same number. So work out his taxable income, we have to take this away. So it's 65,400. We're going to subtract the 4,251. And let's bring up the calculator again. So 65,400 minus 4251. And we get 61149. 61149. And so this is the taxable income. And when we move forward in the question, yes, the gross income is 65,400, but the amount of that gross income that can be taxed is 61,149. Some people might have spotted that a slightly quicker way to do that is if 6.5% is going to be deducted for the pension and the rest is taxable, well then if you subtract 6.5% from 100%, you get 93.5%, and if you went and found 93.5% of 65,400, you would get straight away to the answer of 61,149. So percentages, sometimes you can do them two ways. You can find the percentage and take it away, or you can actually subtract that percentage from 100 and just use that and get the right answer immediately. So let's look at part B of the question. So Luke pays income tax on the taxable income. He has a standard rate cutoff point of 35,300. And his tax credits are 1,650. So what happens in a question like this is we take the taxable income. Now most questions we don't have to do this taxable income. Basically all of his wages will be taxed. And what we do is we write down the gross income normally, but here we're going to write down the taxable income, 61,149. And all of this wages has to be taxed. Some of it is going to be taxed at the standard rate, which is 20%. And then more of it will be taxed at 40%, or the rest of it will be taxed at 40%. So how do we know how much will be taxed at each rate? Well, we're told that the cutoff point is 35,300. And so 35,300 of the 61,149 will be taxed at 20%, and then the rest of the wages, the balance of the taxable income, will be taxed at 40%. So the first thing we should do is let's subtract we have 61,149, and from that let's subtract 35,300 to see what the rest of the wages are, and they're 25,849. So 25,849. And what do these two amounts add up to? They add up to the taxable income, 61,149. So let's go over here and we'll find 20% of 35,300. So 35,300 times 0.2, or again you could use 20 and the percentage button on the calculator. We'll work out that, and then we're going to work out 25,849 times 40%, the high rate, 0.4, or 40 and the percentage button. So if I do 35,300 times 0.2, we get 7,060, pardon me. And then if we do 25849 times 40%, 0.4, we get, press the SD button, 10,339.6. So 10,339.6. So we have the standard rate of tax here, and then we have the high rate of tax here, and all of the wages have now been taxed. We want the gross tax, and so we add these two together, and that will give us the gross tax, or we can call that the total tax. So let's go ahead and add 10,339.6 to 7,060, and we get that the gross tax is 17,399.6. 17,399.6, or 60 cent. Let's put in the 0. Okay, so that's the gross tax. Now, where does the tax credits come in? Well, the tax credits are an amount of money that the government gives you, or the revenue gives you as a credit that you don't have to pay. So the gross tax is 17,399.60, but we subtract from that. So we're going to subtract from that the tax credits. So if I put the credits underneath, 1650, and I'm going to subtract them from the 17, different calculator. I'm going to subtract them from the 17,399.6. So minus the tax credits, 1650, and we get 15,749.6. So 15,749.60. Now, what's this called? This is called the tax due, or you can call it the tax payable, or we could call it the net tax. So there's different names for it. I just wanted to write them all down there so that, if you see any of those terms, that's what that is. That's the tax that we have to go and pay the government. The question is, what's Luke's net income? How much does he get to keep after income tax has been deducted? So I'll come back over here onto the left hand side. So sometimes these boxes aren't big enough to actually fit all the information in, and so you should try and be as neat as you can and stick to the left hand side, and then you'll have space on the right hand side. So I've kind of broken that rule. So I'm going to come over here for the net income. And how do we find the net income? Well, it's going to be the 61,149 minus the tax he now has to pay the government, 15,749.60. So let's take out the calculator, and we have 61,149 minus the 15,749.60, and when we do that, we get 45,399.4. So 45,399.40, and this is the net income. This is the amount that Luke gets to keep. Another way you could have done that was you could have gone back to the start of the question and had the 65,400, then subtracted the 4251, then subtracted the tax, which was the 15,749.60, and you'd arrive at the same amount, which is 45,399.40. So I already knew that the 4,251, the pension contribution, had already been taken out of this amount here, but I could have gone back to the very start to get his gross income and then subtracted that and then subtracted the tax. So these are called deductions, and just to write down one further formula, because again we're trying to add as much as we can into these notes. Your net income will be your gross income, which was the total, the 65,400, the gross income minus deductions. And what are the deductions? Well, things like, your pension, the tax obviously that we've paid the government here, the 15,749.60. There could be union fees, health insurance, there's lots of things that come out. Okay, so that's the second part of the question. The third part of the question is about interest rates. So we're told that Luke got a credit card bill 2 months ago for 760 euros. So Luke owes 760 euros to the bank. And the monthly interest rate on the bill is 2.1% per month. 2.1% per month. Normally we're given yearly interest rates, but here we're given it per month. And he's not paid off any of his bills. So the question is, work out the amount of his bill now correct to the nearest cent. So this was 2 months ago that he got this bill for €760. So if we're going to work out how much he owes now, let's start by writing down the formula for compound interest. So the formula for interest is that F is equal to P on 1 plus the interest rate times the time. So F is the final amount he knows, so that's what we're looking for. P is the principal, which is going to be the 760. That's the amount he owed at the start. I is the interest rate, and we need to put this in as a decimal. So 2.1% is 0.02, that's 2%, and then put the 1 after it. So that's our I. And then what's the time? Well, the time is 2 because it's 2 months. So we're just going to sub those values in, and we get that the amount he'll owe after 2 months will be 760 on 1 plus 0.021 to the power of 2. You can tidy this up a little bit if you want by just adding the 1 and the 0.021, so 1.021 to the power of 2, and now we'll just throw this into the calculator and see what we get. 2 calculators. 760 times 1.021 to the power of 2, that 2 should be outside the bracket, 2, and we get that he owes 792.255. Now because this is money and we want to round off to the nearest cent, if we go to 2 decimals we have 25, but the next number is a 5, and if it's 5 or bigger we have to round up, so that'll be 792.26. 792.26. So that's how we use the compound interest formula. Normally it's given to us by year, but because we were told a time in months, 2 months, then it's okay for the interest rate to be in months. Okay, the last question is about depreciation. Now I don't think it uses the word depreciation because depreciation is actually gone off the junior cert course now. Well, the formula for it is, and the formula for it used to be, well it still is this formula, but you just don't have to know it anymore. F equals P on 1 minus the interest rate times T. We might come back and look at this formula a second, but we'll do the question without thinking about this formula just for a minute. So Luke bought a car last year. Since he bought it, the car lost 15% of its value. It's now worth $17,825. So work out the value of the car when Luke bought it. Now, it lost 15% of its value, but we don't know what that original value is. So what I would do in this question is I would say that the 17,825 is 85% of the original value. That's the way that I would do the question. You can't find 15% of this amount and add it back on. It's not the same. 15% of the original is 15% of a bigger value. So 15% of 17,825, that's a smaller number than what it used to be worth. And so, you can't just find 15% of this smaller number and add it on. We want to know what the bigger number was, the price of the car originally. So if we say that 17,825 is 85% of the original value, it's lost 15% of its value. It's now worth 85% of it. We can then find 100% of the original value easy enough. How do we do that? Well, to find 1%, we can divide 17,825 by 85, and then we'll multiply it by 100 to get it back to 100%. So if we take out our calculator, we have 17,825 over 85, and then we're going to multiply that by 100 to make it 100%, and we get 20,970.58. Now it says to the nearest euro, so I'm just going to round that up to 20,971. So 20,971. Now let's just test that for a second to make sure that this is right. So in an exam, if you have time left, you obviously want to do some testing of it. So if I find 15% of 20,971 and take it away, I should get the 17,825. So we'll come over here and we have 20,971 times 0.15, which is 3145.65, and I want to take that away from 2971. So I'm going to kind of do it in a cheeky way. I'm going to times that by -1 to make it a minus, and then I'm going to add that to 20,971, and I get 17,825. So it shows that it works. If you had got 15% of 17,825 and added it on, let's see what would happen there. 17,825, and then the people who found 15% of that would have got 2,673.75, and when you add that to the 17,825, you do not get back up to 20,971. You only get to 20,498.75. So just be careful with those questions. How do we do them again? We let the value that we're given equal 85% of the original value and then work back up to what 100% would be. Just have a quick look at the formula because you're going to see this formula in Leaving Cert, so it's handy just to have a look at it. So we're told that the car is now worth 17,825, so that's the final amount. So 17,825 is equal to, P is the principal, we don't know what it was originally worth, on 1 minus, the interest rate is 15%, so 0.15, to the power of, the time is just, how many years? Sorry, you bought last year, so just 1 year. And now we're going to rearrange this formula. We've 17,825 equals P on 0.85, because 1 minus 0.15 is 0.85. To the power of 1 is just the same number. And so then we'll divide both sides by 0.85 to give us P is equal to 17,825 divided by 0.85, and we get the exact same number, 20,971. So even though that's something that's not in the course anymore, it's interesting to look at this formula and see how it relates to us sort of doing the question manually like this. Okay, so that's question 2. Quite a long question, and tricky enough in parts as well.